I'm 57 years of age. I am the Heart Failure Warriors Transplant Advocacy, the link with LVAD patients, pre and post-transplant patients. I am post-transplant, heart transplant in the Freeman Hospital the 1st of December 23. This year I'll be 2 years post-transplant. At the age of 45, I had a massive heart attack at home one Saturday lunchtime. Only for my wife being at home and her medical background, it was lights out and game over. After getting intervention treatment, I then was diagnosed with severe heart failure. Went back to work, got back into normal routine life, managed with the 4 pillars, lifestyle changes, etc. Then in 2022, heart failure became a lot worse. Was referred to my own cardiologist in Craigavon, who then referred me to the Freeman Hospital over in Newcastle for transplant assessment. Went over in August 22, met the transplant team. Was deemed that I needed a transplant, but was not in good enough condition at that time to go through it, so they implanted an LVAD, which was a bridge to a transplant, which is a mechanical pump, which basically kept me alive. I got that in September 22. And then was reassessed in August of 2023 and put on the transplant list. And received the call on the 31st of November and got my new heart on the 1st of December. Probably the most standout part is the support that I got from my family. Probably the biggest stick out is the professionalism, the care that I received from the NHS in Northern Ireland and over in the Freeman Hospital. The expertise, it's actually amazing the amount of people that are involved, the different resources that have to come together to make a transplant possible, but it wouldn't be possible without the donor family. Heart Failure Warriors became known to me through my wife. She works in the health service, as does my son and daughter. My wife thought it would be a good idea for me to get involved with that. After I had the LVAD, I went over to Banbridge to a couple of the meetings and became pretty apparent. I was the only person in the group with an LVAD, and then went for transplant, and whenever I came back from transplant, got more involved with the group, and as things went on, it became more apparent that more and more people from Northern Ireland are being implanted with LVADs. There's more pre and post transplant patients from Northern Ireland but have no network, have no support, have no signpost, have no group that they can go to. So Nicole approached me and asked me whether I would consider getting more involved in the committee and promoting LVAD pre and post transplant, and that's where we are now. The new normal, as it is now, post-transplant, is raising awareness of organ donation. Because of Dahi's law in Northern Ireland, with the opt-out and opt-in, people automatically assume that they are automatically a donor. That's not necessarily the case, because if you haven't had that conversation with your next of kin to express your wishes to be an organ donor, in the worst case scenario, and at most traumatic times, God forbid something happens and healthcare professionals come and say to you, unfortunately, you're not going to survive. It's their wishes to become an organ donor. Do you consent to it? Families can overrule that decision unless you've signed the organ donor register and you've also had the conversation with your family. So raising awareness, making people have that conversation, or having people having that conversation. So organ donation awareness. I don't take anything for granted anymore. I appreciate things a lot more. I've come across people, ignorance as to what was involved. People would say, well, have you met your donor? Well, obviously it's just the lack of education and information on organ donation and transplantation. More and more people pre and post transplant are in the community and they've no backup, they've no follow-up, and that's where we like to step in. Well, I'll never be able to thank my donor and his family enough. I'd never be able to thank find the words, but I think living the best life possible would honour his memory and do his family a great justice. I hope that I made them proud. As for resilience, I wouldn't have the resilience that my wife and family had. I wouldn't have got this far without them. I meet people quite regularly now that are being referred to the Freeman Hospital prior to them going over, and they've never met anybody that's had a transplant. And I've walked into rooms and people look at me as if to say, there's no way you've had a heart transplant 18 months ago. And should I take my shirt off? Whenever I take my shirt off, I look like Google Maps, but that's the only physical way that you can tell it. And I like to think that it's not, hey, look at me, aren't I brilliant? It's, look at me, it's possible to go through a transplant and come out the other side and get back to work and live and lead a normal family life. It's not a walk in the park, and it does have its bumps in the roads, but it is possible and it is manageable to come out the other side. Heart failure is becoming more and more in the public eye through awareness, through groups like ours, signposting. We don't give medical advice, we give shared experiences. More and more people, whenever they hear the words heart failure, panic automatically sets in. But whenever they can speak to people that have lived experience, that are diagnosed with heart failure, with LVADs, pre and post transplant, it can give them some encouragement and some solace that they're not on their own, they're not abandoned, and that they can manage it. I think that the benefit of today is the opportunity to bring, as I said to you earlier on, whenever you asked me about transplant, the amount of people that made it possible, logistically, medically, and then aftercare support. The amount of people that are involved in one person getting to where they were is incredible. You probably wouldn't be able to count them. And then bringing healthcare professionals today together, cardiac rehab nurses, cardiologists, MLAs, policy makers, decision makers. Whenever you put them all in the same room together, they can't go anywhere, they have to listen. And somewhere in the conversation today, somebody will say something that somebody else will have a light bulb moment and think, yes, that's relevant, or we can use that, or I didn't see it that way, or maybe we should go this way. So it's having the conversation. As I said to you with organ donation, have the conversation. Support, look, ask and listen.